Hi everyone, and today is Monday, June 16, 2025, 8:52 a.m. Japan time. After yesterday's episode, I did a bit more digging into the Middle East tensions, and honestly, the more I look, the more I feel like this is not just a religious conflict on the surface. It's deeper connected to the larger US-China power competition. Sure, and there's a talk about religious clashes, holy sites, or sectarian issues. But in my view, that's just the cover. Underneath, and this is really battle over the energy, especially resources like sour crude and sulfur. So to break it down, there are two types of crude oil, sweet and sour. Iran produces a lot of sour crude, which contains high level of sulfur. Traditionally, sweet crude was preferred, especially in the West, because it's easier to refine. But these things are changing. Sulfur, once considered a useless or even harmful byproduct, is becoming strategically vulnerable. Yes, it smells like rotten egg, but it's now critical. Why? Because countries like China have the refining infrastructure to process sour crude, not just to extract clean fuel, but also to separate out of the sulfur. And with global decarbonization, sulfur is getting harder to come by. Most sulfur today is extracted as a byproduct from oil and gas. So, if we reduce fossil fuel use, sulfur supply also drops. At the same time, the demand is rising. And take Toyota lithium sulfur battery research. These batteries are lightweight, energy dense, and cheaper to produce. They could power EVs and drones and even military tech. And then there's agriculture, sulfur-based fertilizers and essential, especially as we prepare for future food security challenges. So sulfur's utility is expanding, but supply is tightening. That makes sour crude, despite its complexity, incredibly vulnerable because it provides both fuel and sulfur. From China perspective, importing Iranian sour crude is a win-win. It's cheap and it's refinable, and both components are usable. Iran, meanwhile, sends over 80% of its crude export to China. Their ties are strong. Now, I think about this geopolitically. If Israel, backed by the US, acts against Iran, it's not just about ideology. It's potentially a strategic move to disrupt Chinese resource supply chain. That's why I think the Israel-Iran conflict is one front in the larger US-China rivalry, and the sour crude and sulfur are the center of the battlefield, especially with sulfur aiding other strategic byproducts like barium being cheaper than sweet crude. It's basically black alchemist's treasure chest for material and leverage. Recently, we've seen China agree to ease rare earth export to the US, and while trade talk might look friendly on the surface, the Middle East tells a different story. The bottom line is don't let the surface level US-China detonate for you. Behind the scenes, uh, scenes and the struggle for global power countries through energy, AI, and the invisible logistics war like this one. That's all for today. If you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to follow me. Long puts sharp insights and strategic narrative every day. See you tomorrow.